everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Task Force Geek Book Crew. I'm your host, Beth A, and I am joined today by Sarah Peets. Sarah is a history and creative writing teacher with a serious devotion to researching the history and tactics of multi-level marketing. She shares with me the issue that a lot of writers face, and that is of knowing your worth, especially as a freelance writer, trying to get started. And we both have navigated the pitfalls of finding freelance jobs and kind of being shafted by some of these clients who don't understand really what we do, what it takes for us to do it, and what goes into actually producing the articles that they want. As a professional writer, as a copywriter for 14 years, I've been on both sides of the fence as a freelancer and in a regular 9-to-5 job. And it is very different when you are trying to build a business as a freelance copywriter. Many people have probably used different job boards such as Upwork, Freelancer, Fiverr, Guru. And, as someone who has used all of them, I have had little success in finding and keeping decent clients. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Beth. I'm glad to be here. I feel like having difficulty might be an understatement in some days. I mean, remember when we could use Craigslist to find editing jobs and everything?
Yes.
Can't do that anymore.
No, Craigslist is definitely one of those places that has gone the wayside of finding jobs. So unfortunately has LinkedIn and Indeed. Indeed is horrible. Well, let's just jump right into that one. Sarah and I both had the opportunity to work as freelance copywriters with a now defunct article board. We're not going to mention any names, but our experience there is one that a lot of freelancers and a lot of writers have unfortunately run into. And that is being asked to do something and finding out you're not going to get paid for it. It's we want you to do something for free routine that a lot of employers like to use. Unfortunately, I've run into we would like to have a writing sample from employers, which is horrible because you take the time to research the subject, maybe research a company, put an hour or two into writing a piece that you think is awesome, and then finding out you don't get the job or it's not what they wanted.
And even worse, sometimes you'll still see that thing posted somewhere and no credit is placed. They took that writing sample and ran with it. Yeah.
So the company that we worked for, I brought Sarah on as an article writer. I was writing in 3 different niches. I was writing about travel, I was writing about pets, and I was, writing about writing. And we were promised from the start that we would earn so much money an hour. And I found this job on, of all places, Indeed.
And in the job posting in Indeed, it did in fact mention there would be an hourly pay in the first half of job postings. And the second half of job postings, they suddenly stopped mentioning pay. They started saying it was commission-based. And
it wasn't even commission-based.
No.
It was, we're getting this all set up, and we're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to add links back to Amazon. And suddenly, instead of just writing a 500-word article, we were now suddenly writing 700, 800-word articles where we had to go in and find links that matched with Amazon to put on there in the hopes of trying to get some Amazon royalties. We did not get any form of pay. And before Sarah and I were both done, we had been asked to become editors and to edit other people's work to make sure that they were grammatically sound, to make sure that they were not plagiarized, to make sure that they made sense, because we did have a few people that wrote for us whose first language was not English.
Yeah, I had a plagiarizer on my team.
And I had the non-English speaking person on mine. So, and we got paid absolutely nothing for
it. All with the promise of experience, though.
That is the only thing that came out of this, was that both Sarah and I were able to add to our resumes editor. which doesn't really do any good now because the company is defunct. I mean, we can't even show people what the website looked like, what the articles were. It's gone. So right there is a big problem for anyone trying to break into the copywriting business as a freelancer. Knowing where to go, what to look for, and knowing your worth as a writer, knowing what to charge, what to expect is an important subject for everyone that wants to be a writer of any form. It doesn't matter if you're a copywriter, if you write novellas, even if
study guide writing.
Yeah, study guide writing. Tell us about some of the other experiences you've had, Sarah.
Well, first I want to mention that even if you aren't a writer, even if you're not just watching this and you're not in the whole writing spectrum, and you're here for the book portion, any gig work, this is going to be important. This is going to be something you need. You're going to see this in all forms of gig work, from acting to anything where you get stuck in a weird position. I literally just went through an entire process, of course, looking for freelance work on some job board site, and got stuck with some company really wanting me to edit, giving me a promise of good pay, and then sending me to a shady link to put in bank information. And the moment you say, hey, that's no, we do this through this platform and that's it,
right,
you're nothing left. And that has been the big thing. And then with the company that must not be named, we'll add a little spooky thing there.
The company that shall not be named.
You would have to wear many hats, not only just, hey, you're the editor. Oh, and now on top of your writing, you have to keep up your writing and then start editing. On top of that, here, let's have some social media. Y'all need to do that. And don't forget that on top of this, you're a travel editor and you got to make sure those hyperlinks are there to work to Amazon in the middle of a pandemic. Good job. It's going to be great. Everybody's traveling right in the beginning of the pandemic. And so even through gig work, you end up seeing this kind of same song and dance of, hey, give us your work and then we'll pay you.
Yeah, that's a no-go.
And it's been a lot of things. There's a couple job boards like that are just like that. There's the other one that you and I worked with, where they picked up my article 6 months after I wrote it.
Oh yeah.
So I got like $10 out of nowhere. Yeah. I'm like, why would you do that? And I left that job board again because it was, you needed to provide work before getting paid, and there's a chance you'd get nothing. And some of the stuff I work in is very specialized. I do a lot of history articles, and I still have to go through, thankfully, most archives are virtual now, so I'm not running down to New London or whatever to get information. But, I'm sitting here going through archives. I was once going through microfilm and microfiche even for stuff, for articles, and then nothing would come up because they just decide not to go with me anymore, or give it 1,000 reasons. There's always something.
Now, you worked with one board that you actually did well with when you were over in Japan?
Yes. That, unfortunately, it was a company that did not survive the pandemic, but I did work with a company out in Japan where they just wanted me to do travel writing. They wanted the idea of visiting Japan from a foreigner's gaze, but from a foreigner who wants to do more than just the touristy stuff. So I did I think I did a whole history through Kamakura through time or something for them that they loved. And it was a really great experience working from them. And I think that was really what got me into working with any freelance writing and content writing.
Now, how did that company differ from the ones that we see here, like Freelancer and Guru and Upwork?
They were very upfront, and their contract was very clear. There's one thing to say about Japan: their bureaucracy is impressive and infuriating all at once. Some things will be super easy, and then there's things that they just use fax machines for everything still, which blows my mind. You got bullet trains, so we're going to fax everything. So, but they were very clear. Their contract was very clear that, hey, you get paid this. I think it was $15 an article or something. You get paid that. And then when you send it to us, we'll respond with you saying, we like this idea. First, you pitch the idea. They give you an okay on the idea. And when you send the article, you might have a little bit of back and forth to change things for their own format sake. But then they go. And they were just very upfront and clear about what they wanted and what the expectations were. And that, I think, personally, is the big issue I see all along the job boards. Their expectations aren't set on either end. And I'll put this for all of gig work even. Because even tutoring might on the side, when expectations aren't set, it's a recipe for disaster for both teacher and student and definitely parent.
Unfortunately, we find that a lot in copywriting professionally as well. If the expectations are not set and you as a copywriter are left to your own devices, you may run into problems with not having enough to keep you busy, or not writing about the right things, or having to come up with topics that may or may not resonate with the audience. It's tough. And I think the key here is working with someone that sets their expectations right off the bat. Even as an editor, I tell my clients, this is how I do it. This is what you'll see. This is what you're going to get. What are your expectations of me? And we set all of that down first before we even start a job.
That's what you should do. I feel like you should do that in every single career field anywhere.
It's getting to that point, with the advent of social media being the way it is, and now with a pandemic that has, quite a bit of the workforce working from home, not understanding what your expectations are from your employer, regardless if it's gig work or professional, is a recipe for disaster. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are not giving their employees the exact thing that they need when they need it.
I think you're absolutely right there. It's once those expectations are set, you're setting up your employee to thrive, right?
Right.
Knowing what you need to do. As you said with the copywriting, I never thought about it until now. I'm like, say you're copywriting, you're writing a blurb for a product. If you don't know what that person has in mind for that product blurb, you could be talking about the completely wrong thing.
Right.
And
the same could be said for artwork. If the artist doesn't truly understand what the client is looking for, and it is a little more subjective with art.
Yes.
Because art is a little, has a little more interpretation than, because the artist can have a vision and the client may have a slightly different vision. Whereas with words, it's pretty straightforward. But still, if you do not understand that what they're looking for clear enough, you're going to spend hours of your time that you may or may not be billing for, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Nope, that's absolutely right. I literally just had someone do an art piece for me, and we went back and forth twice about my lips because I wasn't clear the first time on what I wanted it to look like. So yeah, it's there's that setting expectations and understanding what your employee should do. And also I do feel like there's a lot of, thankfully, I feel like it is changing since so much of the workforce has moved to remote work, that employers are starting to realize that working at home, you aren't doing nothing, because you're
probably producing more working from home. I know, as someone who works from home with a regular 9-to-5 job, I actually wind up doing more in the first 4 hours of my day than I usually do, the entire day. And it's just because I get up, I'm refreshed, I come in my office, and it's just boom, 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 boom. And, then I'm sitting there going, okay, what am I going to do for the rest of the afternoon?
Yeah, you don't have random coworkers asking you things, or
right.
My overall profession of being early childhood education, that one's just not one that we can do remote, because everything with 3-year-olds is, they're 3-year-olds.
They're 3-year-olds. It's a lot of on hand.
But yeah, I would get far more done at home than I would ever get done in any job that involved me to sit and write, because writing comes at its own pace. It has its own schedule. It doesn't really have it. We can't control it.
pretty much any writer will agree with that. Especially if you're a novelist, that your characters will talk to you at the stupidest times. I ran into that last night. I was sitting there watching a TV show, and at 10:15, I had my main character in my work in progress be like, "Hey, let's talk." And I wound up putting 2.5 hours worth of work in that I was not planning.
Like, well, this is what I'm doing now. Yeah, that was me last night, except I just laid in bed and plotted for like 20 minutes.
Well, yeah,
I needed sleep. I was tired. Yeah, we also had no internet for a little. We had no power for a few hours. So
yes, the joys of living on the East Coast. Everybody, Peanut Butter has arrived. She is making her presence known.
Give her pets for me.
Do you want to talk about writing?
I like stepping on artwork and papers. Yeah. I love stepping on the papers.
Yes, you do. So you ran into an interesting job offer while looking for gig work that led you to something that I didn't even know existed, a multi-level marketing publishing site. Tell us about this freelance writer trap.
So, as you mentioned before, I researched the tactics and histories of multi-level marketing. And in short, I'll just refer to them as MLM. I'm talking about that and not in the Men Loving Men version, but multi-level marketing only.
Which is also an acceptable topic here at Book Crew, but
no, I don't want to throw shade. I don't want to throw shade on Men Loving Men. It's the multi-level marketing I'm going to throw all the shade on. But no, it's because of this, I've been in a number of things, and I've actually noticed in the last 5 years, while working early childhood education, we'd have book fairs. We all remember that Scholastic Book Fair, right? Mm-hmm. Awesome, cool, no problem. And then there's another company that did it. And then we had an Usborne Book Fair, and I was like, never heard of Usborne. Cool. Right. And my brain honestly went to Oscorp. For every time I'm like, Oscorp, yes. Oscorp. And I'm like, that's not it.
No, that's not it.
We've had some of the books, like some of my daughter's favorite books are that, like, That's Not My Fox, That's Not My Fairy. There's many names among them. And as I learn more about multi-level marketing, I'm realizing, those book parties I've been seeing are just like the Avon parties, the Mary Kay, the Jamberries, Tupperware, Pamper Chef, Pure Romance. That was the one I was thinking about. Gotta love those Pure Romance. I think everybody in college got invited to a Pure Romance.
Hey, those are kind of fun, though.
Hey, I like they are. I will give distributors credit. They booze you up.
No, I wasn't boozed up in any of my Pure Romance parties, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah, they most any MLM thing I've gone to lately, like not lately, in the last 5 years, there's always a bottle of wine open. Always. And fun fact,
I don't know if that's necessarily the MLM parties, but okay. That could just be us wanting to drink.
I mean, not me. It's getting offered to me. But you think about it, you offer some wine to somebody, they're going to be more likely to buy a product.
Exactly.
Kirby Vacuums, that's also one. But they had a standard door-to-door salesman thing for the longest time, and then they moved to multi-level marketing. So they gave themselves an established name first. But I digress. So I get to this Usborne one, and I find out, so Usborne Books is multi-level marketing. Cool. Great. There's a lot of problems with that. We'll start off with just kind of a little bit. I got some history on it for you guys. Nothing crazy, because I want you to understand that Usborne Publishing is not the exact same thing as the multi-level marketing. The publishing was founded back in 1973 by Peter Usborne, hence the name. I mean, it could have been Osborne. But anyways.
Hey. Stay on track. Come on.
Hobgoblin. It's the Great Goblin. No. And they're really, really a well-known publisher for children's literature. They have the sister company that is Usborne Books at Home in the UK and Usborne Books and More in the US. And both those popped up in the 80s. Usborne Books and More is where I have most of my issues, because that is the MLM. I can't talk for Usborne Books at Home because it's the UK branch, so I only know so much about that.
Right.
But this is really where the issue. For anyone who doesn't know what multi-level marketing is, it is they recruit independent distributors, usually referred to from consultants to sell products to whoever. In this case, it would be individual schools and or libraries. You will find these books in libraries, and you'll find them in your like standard, I almost said Tesco. I'm not in the UK, but you will find them in Tesco.
You'll find them in Tesco.
But you'll find them even at Barnes and Noble and everything because the publishing company exists outside the MLM. And these parties have started to be starting to happen as book clubs. Recruiters are going actively searching out book clubs because, well, you have books. Here's some more books. You have kids. Oh, hey. I know a book your kid's going to love. And of course, they've come after teachers, preschool teachers, always moms and military wives are like the first thing they go for. And writers has been the new thing. You'll be finding them in writers clubs or in workshops. They've been starting to do things.
Are they just trying to get writers to buy the books, or are they trying to get writers to actually write for them?
Right now, they're trying to recruit. They're trying to recruit a distributor. But even then, the writing side is a little shady.
How so?
Well, so the actual writing side of what I can find, and this is all anecdotal or just my independent research. There's only so much I can find online, but everything, if anyone ever wants sources, I have plenty. But in order to be an editor there, or just in order to write for them,
okay,
you have to be a staff writer.
Oh, okay.
So, and to quote their own website, as the majority of Usborne books, including our baby books, picture books, activity books, and more, are written by Usborne staff writers, we don't accept submissions for any of those. The only time they accept outside submissions is for our award-winning fiction list, but we're not able to consider unsolicited manuscripts. That means you must be represented by a literary agent who can submit on your behalf. So, you want to get a book published by them? You got to work for them.
You have to work for them. So we go out on Indeed. We're looking for freelance writing gigs. We find Usborne Publishing and we're going, hey, this looks great. Except when you get into the nitty gritty, it's for you to become a distributor to go sell their books, which is not what we're looking for.
And I will assure you, you will not see anything in that Indeed post saying it's Usborne. It will say an independent bookstore, bookseller, bookshop, something along those lines, because multi-level marketing more and more is getting more of a bad rap. All multi-level marketing companies put their recruitment tactics up on high gear over the pandemic, and people noticed they were getting robbed left and right. So, if you luck out and you do live in London, which has a high cost of living, right? Am I crazy on that?
Oh, yeah, no, it's got a high cost of living. Yeah.
So, while they technically are remote right now, they do plan to go back in to work for their writers. But if you are a staff writer, you're also an editor. Sound familiar?
Double duty. Sounds familiar. We've run into this before.
They're not working full time. They're working closer to 32 to 36 hours mark. I don't know what the laws in the UK are regarding that, on if that is their full time, but they do still get benefits. That's something the distributors don't ever get.
Right.
But they're kind of vague, and it's really hard to find anyone who's had a bad experience. And I find that questionable.
That usually is questionable. When you have a company where all the experiences, all of the ratings are, this place is wonderful, this place is great, more than likely,
no one's had an issue?
More than likely, check it out. A freelance writer probably wrote those and got paid to write them. I know, because when I first started out, I actually did a few of those.
Oh yeah, I think we've all been in the kind of situation like that.
We've all probably done some questionable writing that we wish we hadn't.
I've had to put good reviews in for a large company I worked for, my first job as customer service. Mm-hmm. So I know it's something that is done. And we do actually see this all around multi-level marketing. A lot of the big, most of the comments you see in the big ones like Avon, Mary Kay, those tend to have a better, they have years behind them, right?
Right.
So there's people who might have just grown up using, they might have had people growing up with these products, and some of their products may genuinely be good at this point. But then you have like, say, Beachbody. We'll just use Beachbody as an example.
That right there should tell you something.
P90X. Remember that? No?
Not
Insanity
really.
workouts. I think that, I don't remember if Insanity was one.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of workouts. Okay. Yeah. So you have Beachbody, Color Street, the nails, all those, you look up there, if you're getting a lot of high reviews, often they are distributors. They are coming off really, 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 really aggressively high review.
Avon, Tupperware, Mary Kay, those might be a little more, those might actually have some more customer reviews behind it, only because of how long they have been established.
Yeah, you have people who grow up with the products.
Yeah, I mean, we did. We grew up with Avon and Mary Kay and Tupperware. I mean,
yeah. And I feel like, and Pampered Chef is another one. Yeah, it's like those reviews, when you're hitting a certain point, some of the reviews, you're like, these are just people who have been using, there's a chance it could be using the product. When people talk more about the company than the product, that's when you're kind of like, that's
when you're questioning who is writing this, because
I'm not buying nail strips for a community.
Yeah, exactly. So what did you find were you able to find any sort of information on how much Usborne is paying their staff writers and editors?
Yes.
Do share.
So I find it, I'm going to first do one little thing very quickly for you. I'm going to go back a little bit on that whole writer editor thing. On their own website, they have the question is, when is an editor not an editor? And their answer is, at Usborne, where our editors actually write our own books. Usborne editor/writers, that is the actual
editor/writer.
That's the title of the person. Aren't experts in the subject they're writing about. Are not
experts in this. Okay.
Their superpower is to be brilliant at communicating with kids. They work closely with subject area experts to make sure everything is accurate. They make complex simple interesting. Their job is to write books in an infectious, enthusiastic way that will make knowledge simply irresistible. By taking the fear out of big topics, they aim to show readers that they can tackle pretty much anything when it's explained the right way. I have a lot of issues when you are not having people be the expert, but you're having people reach out to experts, because that makes me worry that you don't have people skilled in reaching out to experts. And that is a big, big red flag for misinformation.
Yes, it is.
But looking at how much they're paid, I kind of don't blame them if they don't take all the steps necessary. The 2019 UK salary was £25,592 to £33,720, depending on their experience. Mid-range US is $35,000
okay.
year.
So did you do the conversion rate?
Yeah, I mid-ranged it. Yeah, the mid-range would be 35.
Would be
with
35.
The conversion. Yeah, the average is 35.
Someone that is a writer/editor, full time. 35,000.
My first time preschool gig was that much. That's barely entry level, and that's terrifying knowing the cost of living in England.
That's
particularly London.
That's just terrifying in a sentence. The reason why that's so terrifying is that there are writers out there who will jump on that job and wind up devaluing their skills, their ability as writers, and not realize that's what they're doing.
Yeah, especially with how often Usborne has new releases come out. It's like that. We're seeing this kind of in the beauty industry right now, where like a company I'm not going to name is constantly releasing beauty palettes that are concepts, which is great. I love concepts. give me a concept inspired palette, but they're doing it every month. Now they're all starting to look the same.
Yeah. Which means, you take that and you apply it to the writing, the books are all going to start sounding the same.
Exactly. Hence why you have 20 of that's not my whatever.
Let's take a noun and stick it in there.
Exactly.
So understanding your value as a writer is very important. Knowing your worth going into anything is important, especially if you are trying to get your foot in the door as a writer, a freelance writer, true copywriter with a 9-to-5 job. You have to understand what goes into the writing, what your time is worth, and how to leverage that when it comes to being able to pick up freelance work that is going to move you forward. So knowing your worth as a writer.
And I want to very quickly, I'm sorry to backtrack just a little bit.
Go ahead, backtrack. What you got?
Because we did mention how Usborne has been targeting authors, writers, people who just like books in general, to be distributors. And no matter what they tell you, I want you to keep this statistic in mind. With any multi-level marketing, according to the FTC, in the case for and against multi-level marketing by John M. Taylor, MBA, PhD, Consumer Awareness Institute, the loss rates are extraordinary. Over 99% for all the MLMs that are promoted as an income opportunity or even as a business opportunity are a loss. 99% fail. The idea of it being business opportunity is a misrepresentation in itself. You literally have better statistics to go gambling in Vegas to make money. An MLM will not make you money.
Neither will job boards like Freelancer or Upwork.
Exactly.
Where you are getting employers who are overseas and want to pay pennies on the dollar.
And I do believe both of those job boards have premier kind of premiums that you can in fact pay.
You have to pay to get the premium jobs, which number one pulls money out of your pocket, and number two still does not get you jobs that are worth your time and effort.
If you have to pay to play, that is a red flag.
No. Yeah.
That's unless it's for your background check. That's like if it's for fingerprints or background check, that's a whole other thing. You write that off as a loss at the end of the year. But if you have to pay to play, run. And that is now where it does bring us into more of the know your worth as a writer. I'm sorry to have interrupted you. I had to get that out.
That's okay. That's it's these are great things that people need to understand. So as you're starting out, it doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're an amateur, whether you're experienced, whether you're an expert, you need to know your worth as a writer. You need to know your worth as an artist. And all of these things, these 5 points, are not just for writers. This is for any type of creative content that you are creating, whether you're creating digital artwork, whether you're creating, watercolor work, comic books, novels.
Hell, just trying to be a tutor.
Videos, even being a tutor, yes. You need to understand where you are, what you're doing, and what you're offering. So start out by networking everywhere. Talk about your writing. Talk about your artwork. Tell everyone you possibly can why you enjoy it and what you're good at. 10-second elevator pitch. You've probably all have heard about this. Learn it, develop it. It took me a little while to learn my 10-second elevator pitch for Dorian Gray, my book. But I did it.
It takes time.
It does take time. But when you develop it, you're going to know you hit it right on the head because you're going to start selling your books. Okay. Talk to everyone. Network everywhere. You never know where your next client might come from.
Oh, I mean, think about it. There's so many free social media sites. And on top of that, it's so easy to change your Instagram page to a business page to see how you're getting engagement,
Same with
what
Twitter.
tags are working, what isn't. I mean, the biggest thing in any social media management that I've learned is respond to most everything. If you can respond, ask, end with questions. People will always try to answer a question.
You know, another thing, find your niche and become an expert. Set yourself apart from other people, other writers, other artists, other video creators, by finding your niche and learning everything you can about it. As a writer, I found my niche. I write romance novels, but yet I also mentor and help other writers by working as an editor for them, by putting together these podcasts for you. I have found my niche. My niche is teaching other people how to write, to know what to look for, to know how to create their characters. Sarah could probably tell you I've mentored her. I've mentored my other nieces.
You're very helpful with my
friends. Heck, even at one point, I mentored my husband in writing.
I do that a lot.
Find your niche and become the expert at it. Number 3 is a real big one. Don't let clients devalue you. If you decide to use one of those freelance boards, you are going to run into clients that want more work for less. Stick to your guns. If you want $10 for a 500-word article, don't accept any less. Don't let them try to talk you down. You stick to your guns. If they do not want to play, walk away. There's nothing wrong with it, because guess what? There's another job around the corner that's going to pay you what you want.
I'm going to hop on that a little bit more on the devalue as well. I'm going to put this out also, not only in your work, but on as well as your self-worth. At the company that will not be named, we had a whole situation that we didn't find out until later, that someone who was higher up was constantly hitting on a number of editors, 3 to 4 editors, I believe, and made a number of uncomfortable comments. And one of those people was me. I shoot things down rather fast and kind of played it off. But even then, I look back, I feel like I should have told them off. Know your value in that sense as well. If you feel like you are not being treated well in any way with a client, then trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah. If the red flags are going up, if the warning bells are ringing in your head, walk away. Your self-worth and your value for your time and your abilities is important. There's nothing wrong with walking away. For those of you starting out, number 4 is very important. Research what other people are charging for their work. Look at what don't be afraid to reach out to another freelancer and say, hey, I'm trying to set up my pricing scheme. Can you help me? What has worked for you? Don't be afraid to go out and look at other websites. I know I did when I set up my website, The Muses Funhouse. I looked at multiple other websites offering the same things on website building and editing, and I priced my website accordingly. Don't be afraid to go out there and do the research. And then, set up a pricing structure that works for you, that is right for yourself and your needs. And if you have to, set up a 3-tier pricing structure. Offer a specific price for a new client. Offer a price for a mid-level client. And then offer a higher price for someone who may want you to put in considerably more work to help them get their product, their article, their blog, their artwork, whatever it is, their novel, the way they want it. A 3-tier pricing structure actually has worked out very well for me. You might find that you only need 2 tiers. It doesn't matter. Start by researching what your peers are charging and then set it accordingly for yourself. And finally, number 5 is the most important one. I cannot stress this enough. Protect yourself with a contract. Put a work contract into place to protect yourself and the client. Number 1, it shows professionalism. And number 2, it shows that you are serious about doing the job and doing it right. I have had many clients back out of a job after I had done it and they accepted the work and then they ghosted me and never paid me.
Yep. Also, clients really do actually, if you put out that contract, a client will also look at you more than another person because they see it also as protecting themselves. Yes. So it benefits everybody as long as everybody has the right intentions.
If you were doing a higher level job, don't be afraid to ask for a deposit on the work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because then at least if they ghost you on the rest of it, you still have gotten something
at least.
Okay. These 5 things will really help you nail down your worth as a creative content producer. What you want to stay away from? Try and stay away from the job boards like Upwork and Freelancer. Try and stay away from article requests that seem to be very low priced.
Yeah, that's always shady.
It's very shady. They may want a 1,000-word article, but only pay you a penny per word. I've seen that.
That's weird.
It's a no-go. Stay away from subjects you don't know. I say this only because you may run into a situation where you put an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours worth of work into it and not get paid. Or the client comes back asking for multiple revisions, which is more of your time, and you're not getting paid enough to do this. Think about what Sarah said about going and actually looking up information on microfiche. Think about the time she put into that, going to the library, talking to the librarian to find out where the microfiche is, getting the microfiche, sitting down at the microfiche
I was not
machine.
getting paid the price I was for that, it would not have happened. But it's, again, for me, at the time, not now, I have to renew a few things, but at the time, that's what I did. That was what I was doing. But oh my gosh, if you don't know how to use microfilm or microfiche, and that is what your thing requires, you're in for 12 hours of work just trying to figure out how not break it.
I suspect quite a few of the viewers of this podcast probably are sitting there going, what's microfiche in the first place?
It gives you a headache if you want to know.
That it does.
As you try to focus everything.
If you have a client that wants you to write an article or write a novella, if you do ghostwriting for less than what you feel is fair, walk away. Stay away from writing a sample without pay. Now, there's a caveat with this one, and that is if you are applying for a 9-to-5 job and they ask for a writing sample, you may not have a choice. You may not be able to walk away on this one. And that's okay. But if you are doing freelance work and they want to see a sample of your work,
anything that's more than like 300 words, I'm like,
I wouldn't even go 300. I wouldn't even go 300. If it's more than 100 words, don't do it. Honestly, I don't think you should do it anyway. If they want a sample, say to them, well, here's my portfolio.
That's what I do. I link to my portfolio. I'm like,
here's the link that leads to my portfolio. You may look at this. And if they don't like that, walk away, because they're not going to work with you. Stay away from any companies that seem to be multi-level marketing, because they're not wanting you for what they're advertising. They're not wanting you for what you want to do.
They will tell you that they do. But understand, if you are working for the multi-level marketing company, that is all you are working for. And doing anything outside of that would be strongly discouraged. And don't forget that lovely statistic of 99% end in losses. So,
yeah, considering that you have to do more hustling working for an MLM to make it successful, not worth it.
Oh, I didn't tell you the numbers for Usborne. Remind me after this.
Okay. And then finally, if you have a client that won't sign your contract,
run.
Walk away. run, because they have something shady going. There's no
Why
reason
don't
they
you
don't want to sign your contract. If they don't want to pay your deposit, it's a no-go. In all of the contracts that I send out, I have a $100 non-refundable deposit.
Nice.
I have had one client say, well, I don't understand why I need to pay a deposit. And I told him, because I had a previous client that shafted me after I finished the work, and they accepted the work and they put it up on their website. And I will never do that again.
Yep. Nope. That's horrible. Oh, it makes me so angry. It's so dishonest. It just really is like,
Unfortunately, in the gig work community, we will find a lot of these issues.
I have found my Hamilton presentation reused.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I found it on there's a bunch of teacher resources, and someone was trying to pay for it. Thankfully, I knocked it down. I was like, I own that. No, like, don't. That's mine.
If you create something like a presentation, put your name on it.
That's exactly what I did. I was like, that's my kid in the first slide. Like, you really want to play this game?
I did a PDF that you can find on both of my websites about how to use primary and secondary sources. And you better believe on the bottom of it, it says copyright 2020, The Muses Funhouse, which is my business.
Yep.
If you are looking for freelance work, freelance writing, I know she's always back there. If you're looking for freelance writing work, if you are trying to get your foot in the door, go to your local writing communities. Go to Twitter. Twitter's writing community is a great resource.
They are great. They're awesome
to find gig work. Throw a thing out there saying, hey, I'm open to writing freelance articles. I'm open to editing your novel. I mean, that was how I picked up a repeat client. I just threw out there, hey, if you're looking for a book editor that's, fair and everything, hit me up. And the young lady did. We've developed a fantastic friendship, and I'm getting set to edit her second novel.
Oh, that's awesome.
Talk to people. Talk to everyone around you about what you do, about what you write, about what you enjoy doing. If you like doing editing, that's how I picked up another repeat client. My best friend was approached by a coworker who said, hey, do you know anybody who does book editing? She said, yeah, Beth does. And they reached out to me and said, hey, we heard that you do book editing. Network. Stay away from the low-paying job boards. Go to writing communities. Go, look in your own community for people that need writers or need any sort of, if you can write, you can probably write a real quick marketing blurb. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you're familiar with the company, don't be afraid to approach people.
Oh yeah, I've helped out a few local places with social media. Like, I'm like, hey, like, especially when they're brand new, and I'm like, do you need a little help? I've made it's been bit money, but it's a way to get your name out there too with the local communities, and they'll be more likely to help. Also, that the Twitter writing community also is just super supportive, and they will help you so much.
Same with the Quora. Writing community.
They're also great too.
Go out to Quora. Throw a question up there. I'm interested in doing freelance gig work. I am currently at this level of my career. Can you recommend places other than a job board to go? Whatever you do, however you go and find your job, make sure that you have a plan in place, that you know the subject you want to write about from top to bottom, and that you've done your research on what other freelancers are charging. That way, you can approach clients professionally with knowledge and probably pick up the job paying you what your worth is.
And most writers, especially freelance writers, you guys are amazing researchers. That's a big portion of
Yes.
what you are doing. So take that time to research and things that will benefit yourself in this. It's not just researching your content. It's also researching the networking.
That's the word. You got it. Yeah, I know. It's a little trippy.
Allergies get my tongue feeling funny. The networking, all these things, you got to research things that will make your job easier too. And so make sure to look these things up, see what other people are charging. It's okay to ask. My least favorite thing about American culture is the fact that we shouldn't ask how much people are making. We shouldn't ask. That's the worst thing. That's something that's put in your mind because of pretty much protecting the employers from having to pay more. That's all that is. So, ask those questions. Ask those questions that people usually feel are rude or too bold, because you're going to get answers for them.
People will answer you. They definitely will. They will tell you.
Yeah. You may not like the answer sometimes, but hey, get the answer.
And if you think what they're charging is an amount that you can't possibly get, don't be afraid to charge anyway.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, people will try to talk you down anyway, so hit high, man.
No, that's too high. Well, that's my going rate. I'm sorry. If they want you bad enough, they'll hire you.
They'll go for it.
They'll
give you slightly. They'll maybe cut $5 off of that, and you're like, okay. Learn how to barter. That bartering's fun. Anyways,
I'll give you a new client discount.
That's a good one. I like using that one.
You do it one time. Remember that. If you offer a new client discount,
that's the only time you do it.
They come back the second time, they're no longer a new client.
That's exactly how it goes. Unless you can book them for a really long gig.
Well, that's usually the best way to do it. But
and then you're like, oh, okay, I will have this long-term discount, which really isn't it really isn't much in the long,
Yeah, and if you're able to book a long-term gig or work with someone who is willing to pay you your worth, even if they may start you out a little lower than you want, but it's going to turn into a long-term gig, it might be worth doing.
It's okay. It's okay to know your worth but reevaluate the situations.
Definitely reevaluate. Every situation is going to be different.
And I mentioned earlier how you should trust your gut, but there's also even lines with there's no totality in any of those phrases, right? So just trust your gut. But if you're afraid because you're like, this seems a little bit too big for me, I don't know, or this is a little new. I'm sorry, my chair's so squeaky. This is a little new for me. I don't know what to do. It's okay to take that plunge. It's okay to take things, but do take measured steps. But trust, if something feels off, it is off. Away. If it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
Definitely run away. Hopefully the things that we've told you here and the things that we've discussed tonight are helpful to you. You are more than welcome to reach out to me. If you have any questions about writing, send it to my Twitter at BAFreely, or email me at bethafreely@gmail.com. If you want to know more about editing or website design, you can reach me at info@themusesfunhouse.com, or you can subscribe to us over here at Task Force Geek and keep an eye out on the book crew, and throw your question up in YouTube. I check it.
It's a fun guy. You guys are a fun crew, I'm not gonna lie.
We're a bit crazy at times. And if you want more information about freelance writing or MLM marketing, hit Sarah up at Sister Sistrum on Instagram.
Yep, that's Instagram. Yep. Right now I'm only available on Instagram. Okay. That's the only place at the moment, but that is where you can reach me, and I will, I come with my resources. So if you are not happy with anything I said about anti-MLM stuff, sorry, but you can still reach out to me there if you want. Just might be used later as content.
If you're looking for a researcher, hit Sarah up. She definitely has skills when it comes to doing research.
My particular brand of OCD comes with this great thing called hyperfixation. So once I get going, I will give you everything.
So I'm not sure what I'm going to present to you next week. Hey, I just wing this as I go every week. Hopefully I'll get an author interview with one of the authors I met in Dallas. But then again, you never know. You might get a presentation. So until then, this is Beth A. Freely for Sarah Peets. This has been Task Force Geek Book Crew. I appreciate you joining us. Hit me up if you have any questions or if there's anything that you would like me to cover. Please drop me a line at the aforementioned email. Until next week, this is Beth A. Freely signing off. Have a great evening.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Sarah.
Of course.